Hi, and welcome to today's Thought for the Day. I've entitled this little talk, Consult the Book, and by that I mean the Bible. So I have a lovely old Bible here and also a little paraffin lamp that belonged to my grandmother. And I often think of the Bible as that analogy of the lamp to my feet, a light to my path. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had to construct your own piece of furniture or something from a hardware shop or somewhere like IKEA, I've often kind of laid things out in front of me, and sometimes it looks really obvious what needs to go where and the order of construction. And I've gone straight into constructing only to find partway through that I've missed something really important. I have to deconstruct and then return to the instructions that were given to me at the beginning. And sometimes I think the Bible, in many ways, is a little bit like that with our lives. I learned the hard way, and now actually I always read the instructions first before going straight into constructing. So this word, an incredible treasure, a light to my feet, a guide for every area in my life. It tells me who I am. It shows me how I need to treat other people. And really importantly, it clarifies to me who God himself is. You know, Jesus many times quoted, starting with saying, "It is written." And so if he who walked on water, who performed miracles, who opened blind eyes, who raised people from the dead, showed us that this word is vital, then we too really need to follow his example. The more I put this word into my spirit, the more guidance I have for everyday life. And the more I remember from this word, the more God brings it out quite often in circumstances which come up in life. And I was reminded of this recently when I set off on my journey to Blackpool for the lockdown. I'd said goodbye to Juan and I'd set off on a lovely summer's evening, but I was really quite anxious. I was quite worried about the journey. I wasn't sure how long I'd be going away for, and I was thinking about Juan and the kids and the grandbabies. So I was in this state of mind driving towards the M5 when all at once a bird just flew right in front of the car, and sadly I hit the bird. I felt terrible, and as I was driving on I thought I need to go back. I need to go back and check that bird is okay, that it isn't half dead, it isn't suffering in any way. And so I turned around at the Charfield roundabout and I went back, and as I came towards the bird, I could see quite clearly that I had killed the bird outright. And you'd think at that moment the overriding emotion would be, "Oh, what I've done," but actually what happened really surprised me. A scripture came straight into my mind. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them falls to the ground without our Heavenly Father knows. And obviously there, that scripture goes on to talk about how God even knows the number of hairs on our head, and actually that we are worth more than many sparrows. And in that moment, as I spoke that scripture out loud, I was filled with complete peace for the journey and the time ahead. And that to me was a great example of how the word that has been put in us, maybe through Kingdom Kids when we were children, Sunday school, through messages we hear, through our own study of the world, the word, the more we put in, the more we're able to call it out again when we need it. And God knows in that moment what we need, and by his Spirit does something incredible in us. Jesus said, in this life we'll have trouble. Rather states the obvious, especially as we look in this time of lockdown. There's a worldwide pandemic, and yet he also says, "I have overcome the world." I often find that the greatest battlefield is actually in my mind. It's between my two ears, the lies that I hear, the lies that I tell myself, which can be worse. And whereas the promises that I find in this book renew my hope and faith. So, for example, if I feel that I failed in some way, if I feel that I'm not really on track, I'm not doing what I need to be doing, God reminds me of who I am, that I'm an adopted child in his royal family, that I'm seated with Christ in heavenly places. If I feel sorry, sadness, pain, he reminds me that there will be joy in the morning, that it's for a season. If I feel that a door has closed and I'm disappointed because I had great hope in that, he reminds me that what he has for me is far greater. I can't even imagine what he's purposed for my life. See, I need to really get this in my spirit. I need to wash my mind with the truth of this word. And you may think, where do I start? Maybe it's been a while since you were passionate about this book. Maybe you're coming to faith quite new and you think, where do I start? I sometimes think a really good place to start is with the words of Jesus himself. And you can find some Bibles which the words of Jesus are in red, and that really helps to find them. Or it might be the Gospel of John, which starts with the incredible scripture, the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Jesus, God with skin on, came to dwell with us and show us the way. I'd really like to challenge all of us to meditate and dwell on this word, to put it in our spirits and allow God to bring us to a place of victory by the truths and promises that we'll find within it. To apply vital treasures in this key that he's given to us. Consult the book, look at the instructions in this time of lockdown, and I guarantee by God's Spirit, your hope and faith will be renewed. God bless.